And so I want to ask you, at that time when you moved here, what was your perception of China? What were the perception of the people around you in Detroit or in the States in general about China? And how did you break through that?
It's really been an ongoing process and a learning process. And the first thing is I actually bought into a lot of the lie. I believed in, even for years, even after 10 years, 15 years of living here, there's a lot of misinformation and topics that I'm just not interested in, I don't know much about, and then somehow they, through osmosis, filtered into my head, and I actually just assumed that they were true. And it takes time to kind of do some research to figure out, and blown away and astonished by some of the things that I assumed were happening and just weren't. So it is difficult and it's never ending. It is an onslaught, and you can also get like bogged down into debunking everything to the point where you're actually not being proactive
Right.
and being part of the solution. And so that's why I always say, like, we have to be solutionaries. We identify problems, we verify that they're real, but you need to be part of the solution and make sure that you're doing something proactive. Otherwise, you're a reactionary. And so, at the time in the '90s, because China was so different, and this is kind of funny how like the propaganda works. The attacks on China, many of the problems have already been solved now. And so when you go back in time, you look at all the writing and the things that they were focusing on, you can just see the bias. At that time, there was a ton of state-owned enterprises, so many, and so they were targeting China, saying this is a banana republic. That if you want to do any business in China, you have to go through these state-owned enterprises, and they're not working and they're not functioning, and they need to be dismantled. Well, guess what? They broke them down. They dismantled them, and there was benefit that came from that. And so you can't use that argument anymore. They also used to make fun of there's a lot of degradation and racism embedded in. And so they would make fun of actually people dying. They would make fun of like traffic accidents. That was the big thing because of the poor infrastructure and roads and impoverished people moving things back and forth. There was a lot of accidents. It happened. It really was. I remember that time. You would see accidents and people getting hit. Tons of people on their bicycle, managing bicycle traffic with car traffic. And the big joke is, oh, you can't walk safely in China. As they started to get money and resources nationwide, they started to deal with that. And now you see China has the most efficient like traffic control system on the planet. They started painting roads with lines and putting up gates and getting people to, stop at the crosswalk. That was an entire process for a whole nation. So yeah, you see the smear campaigns, and it's just funny. Sometimes they go back in time and they make you try to believe that there was a time where okay we were more warm and opening up to China. But my experience the whole time it's been relentless. They've always attacked every leader the same way. They try to go back and say, oh well, Deng Xiaoping was a better guy, and he did. You can go back and check the papers. We vilified and demonized him with the same relentlessness as we do the leaders today. So it's an ongoing process, and it's something that I think if more Americans learn about how the system operates, that's what would help me, is not just debunking it, but calling out the people that are doing it, identifying them, and letting them see this broader system and network and how it works. So in the future, you can catch them in the act. And that's why CODEPINK is so inspiring by calling out people by name and identifying our politicians that are talking about things we know that they have no idea what they're talking about. They're reading from a script.
Totally. I really like what you said about the relentless and constant need to lie and lie and lie about all these different things and all these issues that actually do get addressed, or making up issues entirely. And because they continue to do that, it creates a brain fog. There's a lack of clarity, and we spend so much time debunking, researching, and having just feeling a confusion that they want us to feel all the time.
But the xenophobia that has been, it's not just now, but I'm super curious, having experienced racism in the United States, and then you just use the word racism around how people deal with China. Can you describe how you witness it, how you experience it, and if there's any difference or, yeah.
That is why I'm so passionate and inspired. My idol was Malcolm X. I've always idolized Malcolm X. And when I started to realize this deep connection Malcolm X had to China, and it was because as he studied history, he identified that the same process and the same system that was being applied to the Black community, to the African community, was being applied to the Chinese community. It unleashed the spirit of solidarity with the people. When he was in prison studying history, and if you read the autobiography of Malcolm X, he talks a lot about China. Mm-hmm. He talks about the Opium Wars and what happened during the Opium Wars and how this entire nation was oppressed, invaded, degraded, and flooded with drugs. And he was literally fighting that in Harlem, in the community where he was a leader. This onslaught and influx of drugs into the community, this genocidal attack. And he's seeing that this is the same approach that's being done towards Chinese. And so if you can see that and see the same systems, and I live here in this country and I'm an American citizen, I feel it's my duty and responsibility to speak out. Honestly, like, I would prefer to just like struggle and fight for my life and just like, it's already struggle enough to survive and do whatever I'm doing instead of put my neck out here and be aggressive and vocal and all the attacks that come with that. But how do you sit back and let your own country, your own nation, spread blatant lies and propaganda that you can actually help debunk?
Yeah.
And so that's why I feel compelled to even come out, because it's just gotten too aggressive recently, and with this new age and new media, the sword cuts both ways. Now I actually can at least say something, get on an interview, and speak out, and it actually reach and maybe make a difference.